Good morning and welcome everyone to the Equal Engineers virtual Race and Ethnicity Careers Fair for universities. So before we get started, I want you to say a massive hello to the person next to you, in front of you, behind you, left and right. Off you go. Good morning. Hello. Good morning. Good morning. Okay, so thank you for indulging me. We've got to start the day with a good morning, right? So let's get on with some housekeeping, please. So just so you are aware of what is happening today, a little bit of housekeeping for you. So here we go. So as an attendee, your microphone will be on mute and you won't be visible at all during this event. The meeting is going to be recorded, and if you wish to receive a copy of the recording after the event, then you can get in touch at events@equalengineers.com. The speaker and gallery view, now we're all up on this, I'm sure, but as you can see where we've circled in red, if you wish to switch between speaker and gallery view, depending on who you want to see at the time, then that's where you go to do it. Troubleshooting, should there be any issues at all, close all applications on your computer, and if you lose a connection, log out and come back in again. If you need specific support, then you can contact our events management team and they will be on the chat function, or you can email them at events@equalengineers.com. Right, so you will have an opportunity. You're going to hear a lot of fantastic questions and brilliant answers, but you will have the opportunity to ask questions to our employers in the afternoon virtual booth, and this is going to happen straight after we finished here at 12 o'clock. Well, we'll give it a few minutes, let them have a cup of tea and a break, and then 12 come straight back in. So you can access the links on our website. There's the link right there. Of course, any problems at all, just get in touch with our tech team. And yeah, in the afternoon, the Q&A function will be running. So we won't run it this morning, or else we would be here forever, because I know there's a lot of you attending. And I'm sure you all want to ask more personal questions that are right for you in the sessions later on this afternoon. So we will look forward to welcoming you in the afternoon with your questions. So you can see a lot of faces, can't you? I'd like to introduce you, and they're going to wave back at you. Let me introduce you to our fantastic panel. Good morning, Stella, campus recruiter at Rolls-Royce. We also have Zachariah, life cycle engineer at Rolls-Royce. We have Hayley, who is from the recruitment team at HMGCC. Now, whilst Hayley is off camera, I can assure you she's giving you a full grin and she's waving her little arms off. Benedict is here, partner patent attorney at D. Young and Co. We also have Zoe, who is also a partner patent attorney at D. Young and Co. Gowrie's here, graduate tritium research engineer slash scientist from UKAE and A. Good to see you. Ollie's here, process engineer and co-founder of AFBE UK. And we have student ambassadors on the line as well. It's great to have you here. Thank you for attending. Abriami, Mohammed, and Michelle. Excellent. What a family. We are all here together. Thank you so, so much. So I will keep reminding you that you will have the opportunity to attend the virtual careers booth afterwards, so you can speak directly to our panel. But yeah, I'm just going to kick off literally by giving you the opportunity to find out a little bit about the roles and the people that you're speaking to. So my first question is very simply, what's your day-to-day look like? So I'll ask this to Stella first of all, please.
Good morning, Fayon. How are you today?
Fantastic. I saw a lightning storm. It woke me up in the night last night.
Wow.
Absolutely incredible. Managed to get back to sleep. And then the rain started. It was quite a festival going on outside my window.
Very good. So, I'm Stella, so I'm the campus recruiter at Rolls-Royce, and my day varies so much. So some days I could be doing events like this, which is great because I'm meeting young people that are really motivated and want to join Rolls-Royce. Or on other days, I could actually be supporting the assessment centres. So they have always been physical, so face to face, and it's great engaging with everyone. But this year, we are changing it, and it will all be virtual. So if you get onto an assessment centre at Rolls-Royce this year, it will be virtual. So Rolls-Royce, we're a fantastic company, and it's all around that cleaner, faster, more competitive power that we need for civil, defence, and for power systems.
Fantastic, thank you. Now, Zachariah is also from Rolls-Royce. You're a life cycle engineer. Zachariah, tell us about your daily, what you get up to.
Thank you, Fiona. Yeah, hi, Zach. I am a life cycle engineer, as you mentioned, and in Rolls-Royce, we sort of design, sort of manufacture, and maintain power systems for lots of different applications. And I'm a life cycle engineer based in the services end of the life cycle, so the back end where the product's actually used. So I work in quite a fast-paced environment with a really big focus on product safety. So we deal with all sorts of investigations into potential maybe failures or somewhere where things might not always go as planned. That's where my role is focused.
Wow, so it's keeping on your toes, literally. Brilliant stuff. And Hayley, what about your day-to-day role from HMGCC?
Morning. Yes, so my role is also quite varied. So I can go from interviewing people to working with teams within our organisation to make sure that we can find some candidates for them. Again, fairs and events such as this, and mostly virtual at the moment, which has been a big change for us, but really exciting change. And also contacting candidates, so making sure that they can come through our process and feel like they can talk to us and ask any questions that they've got. So lots of talking to people. And then I thought I'd tell you a little bit more about HMGCC. So lots of people might not have heard of us, and that's okay. I'm here to tell you all about it. So HMGCC is Her Majesty's Government Communications Centre. So we produce secure communication systems for the government, which protects national security at home and overseas. So our teams work on the whole product lifecycle really to create high-tech products to protect the UK in this ever-evolving digital age.
Absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much. And to Benedict, hi there. What's your daily role look like, and a little bit about what you do at De Young and Co.
Yeah, hi, good morning. So I'm a patent attorney and a partner at De Young, as you introduced me. So De Young is a firm that provides intellectual property services. So my specialty is patents. I will explain more about intellectual property in the virtual booth, because otherwise we're here for 15 minutes. And as a patent attorney, my role is to basically advise my clients how best to protect their inventions and their intellectual property. That means understanding their technology, their inventions, but most importantly, their commercial needs, so that we can come up with solutions that work for them. And in terms of technologies, I work mainly in sort of in the telecoms area, so telecoms network, computer science and software in general, but we have people working on more mechanical, chemistry, biotech inventions, so it's anything to do with science, we'll work on that. And then the second aspect of my role is the partner. So basically that aspect is making sure I can help manage the firm as best we can, so we can provide the best service we can. And that involves making sure, anything from we have IT working to we recruit the right people, to support the people internally to make sure they the best version of themselves so we can provide the best service. So this is a snapshot of what I'm doing.
Sounds good. Sounds really good. Thank you very much. And Gowrie, engineer slash scientist, tell us about your daily role.
Well, I'm Gowrie, as you just said. I work at UKAEA, which stands for the UK Atomic Energy Authority. So we're just an R&D company that's looking into researching fusion energy and trying to put that power on the grid. So my day-to-day role is very, very varied. It sounds like everyone else's is. Some days I might be doing careers fairs and things like this, and other days I'll be home modeling, looking into like interactions between hydrogen isotopes and materials. Other days I'm on site, putting together equipment and trying to get an experiment set up.
Cool. Sounds like a dream for you.
I do enjoy it.
I can tell, I can tell. And thank you. Ollie, please tell us about your day-to-day role.
Thanks, Fern, and pleasure to virtually meet everyone here. I'm a process engineer, a chemical process engineer and a combustion specialist. And by the way, I got into trouble once for admitting that at an airport that I was involved in combustion. So just be wise and be mindful of that. But day to day, I'm involved with the design of a process plant. And so that could be anything from refineries to offshore systems to gas plants. I've been involved in quite a lot of everything from sort of large projects, capex projects, to just regular running of plant. The other hat that I wear is as co-founder of AFB UK. We are a not-for-profit organisation that seeks to help young people into the engineering profession. We've got a special but not exclusive emphasis on people from Black and minority ethnic backgrounds, and we run tons and tons and tons of events every year to help young people get into the field.
Excellent stuff. Yes, I've seen what you do on my Twitter feed. So yeah, absolutely brilliant. Keep up the great work. And now we're just going to go on to a little reminder again, because you can speak more directly to these wonderful people in our virtual booths that we'll be having just after 12 o'clock. So, I know you can't use your Q&A function here, but you are going to hear some great questions and answers that will, provoke you into thinking about things more personal to you. So that's going to happen after 12. So, let's get into this. This workshop, this fair, I should say, is all about race and ethnicity. So my question would be, what are you doing to, or rather, how are you ensuring the pathways are open to all ethnicities and backgrounds? So I'll start with you, please. Rolls-Royce, who wants to take the question?
Thank you, Fayon. So I'm going to start it, and then Zach's also going to input onto the answer. So it's really important that we make sure that all our applications are open to everyone. So from recruitment side, we want to make sure that all the assessment centre material and the online assessments, we ensure that it's fairness and that it's diverse as well, so that it's open to everybody. All our assessors have Recruit the Best training, and part of that is diversity inclusion and also unconscious bias, because that is so important as well, that we are aware of that. But Zach, do you want to talk about how we do it actually in Rolls-Royce?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, thank you, Stella. There is, of course, we try to hire people from diverse backgrounds, but also maintain a diverse and inclusive environment. So we have what are called enterprise resource groups. So kind of like, think of them as kind of like societies at uni, for lots of different groups, for people of African and Caribbean origin, from people of Asian origin, for women, for people who may have particular disabilities, for LGBTQ groups and more, with the aim and idea of removing any challenges or barriers that anyone from any of these groups may face in the workplace, really to try and make the workplace firstly an inclusive one where everyone can be at their best, but also a diverse group as well.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Zachariah. Thank you. And to Hayley. Hayley's off camera for those of you who are just joining us, but I know she's got a great answer for you.
Thanks, Bayon. Yeah, so diversity and inclusion is really important to HMGCC. So we start that off at the very beginning with when we receive applications. So once they go to the line managers to sift and kind of review them against what they're looking for, we remove all personal information from them. So no school names or university names, just to ensure that there isn't any unconscious bias from any of our staff members. So that's really important to us. And then I think we do something very similar to Rolls-Royce with our educating of staff. So making sure that we're running courses on that, as well as unconscious bias training too. So there's lots of things that we do throughout the process, and once people are starting to interview with us, to make sure that we're making it a diverse and inclusive place to work.
Thank you very much. And if I could now go to Zoe, please.
Thank you, Fayon. I'd like to talk about two aspects really. Firstly, what we're doing as a firm, and secondly, what we're doing in conjunction with the intellectual property or the IP profession as a whole in terms of collective initiatives. So as a firm, obviously we have a bedrock of an equality, diversity and inclusivity policy. We have an officer, which is myself, and we've set up a small working group of partners and senior managers to review our practices and put in place various different initiatives. But we've obviously recognised that having a policy in itself is not enough. We need to be much more proactive in order to attract a wider range of applicants. So one of the key areas that we're focusing on is our recruitment. So we've expanded where we advertise our roles. We've expanded the number of universities we recruit from, for example, attending more careers events and careers fairs and events such as this, because we recognised, I think, that we were missing out on a huge pool of talent by being perhaps too narrow with our choices. So we've also put in place an internship programme, which has been running for a number of years, to give potential candidates a taster of what it's like working in IP. And we have quite a structured interview process which tests various different abilities, which I'm sure we can tell you more about this afternoon. As a firm, we're also involved in a number of other grassroots initiatives to help sort of promote diversity in the profession, one of which is something called Interscience. So this year, for the first time, we're sponsoring 5 students through a 3-month programme that's aimed at promoting social mobility and diversity in science, technology and engineering and medicine subjects. So basically to encourage young people to consider careers in science and engineering, and hopefully eventually into IP. The second aspect I want to touch on is working with other organisations across the IP profession as a whole, because obviously we're quite a small firm, we've got less than 200 people. It's a lot easier to join forces with other organisations to try and sort of implement real change and make progress. So we've been working quite closely with an organisation called IP Inclusive, which is a network that spans the whole of the IP sector. There's about 150 signatory organisations, and they've put in place various initiatives such as Careers in Ideas Week, which takes place later on in November, which is another outreach campaign to really try and reach a wider audience and raise awareness of IP related careers. IP Inclusive also has a specific group set up to support ethnic minority IP professionals, which seeks to sort of assist and inspire people to enter the profession. And they've conducted a number of surveys on diversity within the sector, have put in place various initiatives. For example, we've got a senior leaders think tank, which is kicking off next week to really try and, get some traction in this area and to make sure that we're as diverse as we should be. So I suppose to sum up, it is very much a work in progress, but I think De Young & Co, as well as the rest of the IP profession, recognise that we've still got a lot more to do in order to reach a wider audience, but we hope that sort of by attending events such as this, we can encourage people to consider the profession. And I would add that it's a really buoyant profession, COVID aside, recession aside. Yeah. It's a really positive profession to go into, and we're constantly looking for sort of highly talented individuals. So please come and talk to us this afternoon and find out some more.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And going on to Gary now, who not that long ago probably went through the process. So I feel you can tell us really like from not that long ago as a graduate.
Yeah, I only started the role in September last year, so I went through the
Sorry, Gary, just start again for us. Come in again for us.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you've gone really quiet.
Oh, I don't know. I can just.
There you go. You're back. You're back. You're back.
Well, a year ago, I oh, one bit.
Okay, Gary, at the moment, we seem to have a problem with your microphone. You're
Okay.
cutting in and out. You're cutting in and out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Ollie and then I'm going to come back to you, okay? So just off camera, if you don't mind, just see if there's anything you can do because your answer is so valuable. I don't want anybody to miss it. So we'll go on to Ollie.
Yeah.
Ollie, same question, please.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. I mean, uh, I'm going to respond to this with my AFB hat on as opposed to my regular job. And that is because for about 13 years, we've been working with various companies and schools and universities to try and help bridge this gap between study life and working life. We're driven by a stat by Engineering UK that shows that 31.8% of all engineering undergrads are from a BME background. So this is UK domiciled, not internationals as well. So UK domiciled students make up 31.8%. The industry is made up of less than 9% of BME people. And we think that what's happening there is there are a number of issues with employment, but also the lack of professional advice at that critical juncture in their lives. And so about 8 years ago, we set up a program called Transition. Transition is set up in Aberdeen. It's now something that is being practiced and done in more than 7 universities around the UK and with various companies. And what we try to do is simulate the recruitment process. Basically get people into that, give them a safe space to make all their mistakes. What we found over time is that when people are put in that scenario, especially if they are fortunate enough to do it over and over again, they get the opportunity to answer questions with very experienced professionals. They get feedback immediately. They make all their mistakes and they can be pointed out to them. We found that very often it helps them in that transition. Now, the other aspect of that often emerges from that is also a relationship of mentoring that takes place following those kinds of events. And so we found that to be very effective. The other thing that we then do is something we call the real projects, where we take students throughout the course of throughout a whole year. They get to see different projects that have happened in industry, and again, that just gives them an insider's view as to what life in industry is like. And over time, we have seen many people who have come through those programs who had looked for work for quite a long time. In fact, a survey we did showed that 70% of the people who come onto those programs were able to secure a job within 12 months. So what we've been doing, and we've got an event coming up with Shell in the near future, got one with Spirit and various organizations, and we've been working with them to help this process and to help get more people from ethnic minority backgrounds into their companies.
Excellent stuff. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, Gowrie, coming back to you. So same question. Hopefully we'll be able to hear every syllable.
Can you hear me now? Is it all right?
I can hear you.
Okay, cool. So we have an apprenticeship scheme and a graduate scheme. So we try and like encourage people from lots of backgrounds coming into the company through like early careers that way around. We also go into lots of schools in the nearby area, taking our Sundome with us to explain fusion energy to like children and encourage them to get into STEM from the beginning, because as I think we all know, in STEM is like a whole leaky pipeline issue going on there, and trying to kind of STEM it from the beginning will help it progress forward. We visit a range of universities and do process like this, and I think now that everything is virtual, it makes it a lot easier to go across the whole country and speak to like a variety of different people, because you don't have to travel anymore. You can can just do it on schools like these and speak to lots of people. And for early careers, we tend to look for potential rather than like polished students, so we can see if they can progress further and like what like the point of the graduate scheme is to train people into becoming scientists and engineers, and that's how you learn is through experience. Right? So you have to give people a chance to get in. We also have lots of EDI targets that we've set and a 5-year plan that we're trying to work towards, and so we can actually track the progress and see what we're doing and see where we aren't doing so well and work on that and improve the company. So that way, I think it's easier to see when we have this and to keep track of that and make improvements. We also have employee networks set up for the BAME community and women and employees with disabilities. And this means if any of these groups are having problems, they have a safe space to talk about it, and it can be taken to higher up so that they can get those problems sorted out.
Right then, so still issues with your mic coming in and out, but I didn't want to stop your flow. So we're going to need to look into this for the next time you answer. It's kind of going up and down, you're kind of coming in and out. And I know what you're saying is so valuable, but you're going to be in the Q&A afterwards, aren't you?
No, actually another graduate is in my...
Another person from your organisation will be, yeah. But we need to see if we can sort out your mic. And there's been a suggestion, try a headset mic.
Yeah, I was thinking that. I'm going to do that.
Right, have a look into that because we really want to hear what you're saying. Okay then, so I'm going to go to my my student ambassadors and just ask if they have any questions at this juncture. They might do, they might not do. Let's have a look. I know Michelle had her question literally answered. She got me in the chat and said, just had my question answered, so she's okay. Abriami, do you have anything to ask? It's okay if you don't at this point, we'll keep going. Unmute for me. Oh, that's a no. Okay. And Mohammed, anything to add at the moment?
Yeah, so, hi everyone. And yeah, I just heard from all the companies, and it's really good to see everyone, promoting inclusion and diversity in their company. So, my question was, it is good you're promoting inclusion and diversity for everyone in the UK. What about international students, coming from outside the UK to work in your company?
Okay, so if we could have a few of you, have you got anything? Right, Stella's light is on. Go, Stella.
Thank you, Fayon. Yeah, and that's a really good question, Mohammed. And the thing is that we want to welcome everybody into Rolls-Royce. So Rolls-Royce are an A-rated sponsor, so that if you were successful through the assessment centre, we would then support you with your visa applications.
Excellent. That sounds fantastic. Thank you. Okay, good. So let's move on with our next question. So what might, yeah, this is a good one. Right. What might be a typical career progression from apprentice or graduate upwards in your company? So Stella, if you would like to start for Rolls-Royce.
Yeah, thank you. So it doesn't really matter which route you come into, the glass ceiling just is smashed. You can go as high as you want, really. So as long as you've got the passion and the motivation and that you actually want to develop yourself, we will find ways to be able to do that for you. So with the new graduate program, it's all about that there will be a leadership part in that if you want to. So there is opportunity to be able to move up through the company, and we've had graduates who then become managers and so forth. So there is that progression that you can move on to. And Zach, I think you got a bit more to add on to that, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think, yeah, I'll just echo that. I think it doesn't matter if you come in as an apprentice, graduate, direct entry, there's no limit to your growth within the company. Within engineering itself, there are sort of typically three main avenues or progression avenues. For example, if you have an interest in a particular field or particular science, for example, there are technical specialist routes where you would work to build on that knowledge, to build depth and become eventually a technical specialist or a pioneer in that particular field. There are broader areas where you can move into leadership for a particular project, for example. But these paths aren't fixed routes. You can always jump from one to the other to gain breadth and gain a wider skill set, which is also something which is very, very sought after, breadth. Yeah, I think hopefully that adds to that. I recently came off the graduate scheme, so I'm quite early on that stage, but there are mentors. We have mentors available to us as graduates and even after the graduate program, and regular check-ins with our teams to check where we may like to work, and then the steps needed to be able to reach that goal or that aspiration.
Brilliant, brilliant. So you always feel like you're supported along the journey. Okay, that's great. Thank you. And if I can go on to Hayley. So if you just joined us, where have you been? Let's just double check that you know who you've been hearing. Zachariah and Stella are both from Rolls-Royce. Stella is the campus recruiter and Zachariah is the life cycle engineer. And I'm now going to call upon Hayley, who's from the recruitment team at HMGCC.
Thanks, Bayon. So career progression is really important to us. We make sure that people have that opportunity. So lots of our, all of our roles that we advertise go internally first, so that we give people the opportunity to move around throughout the business. Particularly for our apprentices, we're really keen to see them grow. You know, they spend a couple of years with us working and also spending their time at college. So once they finish that, we'd like to, continue to develop them and help them on their career path. So they will usually have sort of a final interview stage with us and then be offered a permanent role where they will continue, and some do carry on with their learning and continue to get qualifications. And then with our graduates, again, they have the progression route too. So they might join as a graduate software developer. They can then progress into the software developer role and then to a senior software developer. And it doesn't stop there either. We have lots of interchangeable roles where people can move around. So they could then go on to be a technical lead and lead on projects for other items. So there really is a broad range of skills, and we can move around in different areas. We've got our IT teams as well, so the apprenticeship can be quite broad in that sense. But once people get into those teams, they can really pick where their passion and enthusiasm lies. So they might go down a more network engineering route or a server engineer, but they kind of do the overarching qualification, which gets them onto that career path and can really pave their way for the future.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. And now on to Benedict. So Benedict, patent attorney at D Young & Co. She's the partner there. What would you say, please, Benedict?
Well, I think for us, the career progression is fairly well defined. So typically you would start in your recruit as a technical assistant or trainee position. This is where you're training on the job. So you're under supervision of someone qualified. You always have a partner who's there to not just to train you, but to support you and sort of champion you within the firm, and give you exposure to different things so that you can learn all the aspects that are involved in the job. And at the same time, you prepare for the exams you need to pass to be qualified as a patent attorney. Once you qualify, and that's usually typically 4 or 6 years, then you become an attorney or an associate, and that in practice that means you no longer need to be supervised, so you can be more autonomous. And compared to some other jobs in the legal profession, qualified attorneys in the patent profession tend to have a lot of autonomy, so it's quite enjoyable. And then you can evolve to a more senior role, like senior associate role, and then ultimately as a partner. The progression is fairly linear, but actually something I've really enjoyed is the fact that even if it looks like there's just one way up, actually the focus of what you're doing changes throughout your career. As you progress, you focus on different things. So at first you would mainly look at how to learn how to do the job very well, train for the exams, and then as you progress, you will look at other things like training others, case management, client management, business development, people management, supporting your team, supporting the firm. So you're always learning something new, and you're always growing in your role. So that's, I mean, I get bored quite quickly if I do the same thing for too long, and I'm still there after a number of years, so I'm still not bored. There's always something to learn, so that's really good. And what I would say is, if anyone's considering that profession, and please do, something to look for is check, look at whether the firm you're looking at has, what's their approach to a progression. Is there like a transparent system? Do you have clearly defined goals and expectations? Because if you have a more transparent system, that will better support an equal opportunity company. And then, so that's in-house. So that's right, private practice. So you also have roles in-house. So in my career, so I've started in private practice, but I've spent a few years in a similar position in-house. So that means in a company, in an industry. So for me, it was in a mobile operator. And the role there is more commercially focused. So the external attorneys, the private practice attorneys will advise the people in-house, and the people in-house will actually make the ultimate decision. So this gives another kind of challenge and interesting aspect to it. And you also have more opportunities to work on more peripheral aspects like contract licenses, litigation, other types of IPs, aspects you don't do as much when in private practice. And I think you have different pros and cons to both options. The training tends to be better in private practice because you have more trainees, bigger teams, so you have more support, you have courses, you have systems. Everyone's there to help you. If you're the only trainee in a company, you won't have the same support for your exams. And also you have, I mean, we work on different clients, technologies, commercial situation, legal situation. So if you're in private practice, you work with so many different clients, so many different technologies, that you will have more exposure to different situations. So your training will be greater in that respect as well. And in terms of progression, it's probably similar in two areas. It's probably somewhat flatter in-house. So you don't have as many levels, whereas in private practice, there's always a step up. So sometimes there's a case of if there's not a new role that's been opened, or if there's not someone leaving, you may not be able to have a promotion. But you also have, on the other hand, more opportunities to learn on more peripheral aspects, like the ones I've mentioned before. So it tends to be that type of progression, whether you're looking at private practice or in-house.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you, Benedict. That's great. And to Gowrie, okay.
Okay, I really hope this works this time. But yeah, can you hear me all right? Okay, cool. Yeah, so with our company, you can potentially progress through the management route if that's what you feel like, and still do science, but not as hands-on as a technical expert in your area, and that way you can still stay hands-on with your experiments or projects or whatever you're working on. We can also, if you wanted, you can apply for other positions within the company. And the point of the grad scheme is to start you off at like what we call a level 3 position, and they'll train you in the 2 years of the grad scheme to become like ready for a level 4 position and demonstrate that you're ready for those responsibilities. We also want all our employees to be accredited by their chosen discipline. So for example, as I'm a physicist, I want to aim to be accredited by the IOP eventually. And so we get mentors, even if you're coming in not as a graduate and just like as a direct entrant, you can get a mentor and then work towards becoming professionally accredited. And your employee, like yourself and your manager, will work together to create a development plan for you to progress in whichever way you want to. Actually, our CEO and current CEO and our current chief engineer both started out as graduates on our graduate scheme as well. So clearly, you can go anywhere off the graduate scheme. We also have lots of heads of departments in the previous COO as examples of people who were on the apprenticeship scheme and became heads of the departments and things like that.
Fabulous. Thank you. Thank you. And to Ollie, same question, please.
I was just trying to find my maths. Yeah, so Yeah, so you typically start in most of the companies I've worked in. I've worked in both your what we call the EPCs, as in service providers, and with the operators. And generally, you would start with in a graduate position, and then progress onto a full engineer position, and that usually one of the things that you try to do in that period is get chartered. So get chartered with an institution that's linked to your particular field. So, for example, I was chartered with the Institution of Chemical Engineers. You'll probably have a similar thing. And you typically have a mentor in your organization for that. The first advice I'd give to anyone with regards to a mentor is always make sure your mentor is not your boss. Because what tends to happen is that your boss has the business in mind, your mentor has your career in mind, and sometimes those two conflict. And I can say that with confidence because that's what I did. So I'm just confessing all of the mistakes I've made. And then you then move on to a more sort of specialized or a more senior position, and then you then move on to where I am in my career now, which is more of a principal / lead position. Then just to pick up on what Zacharias was saying earlier, most of us will then tend to move into two areas. You'll get people who are subject matter experts, like Zacharias said, or technical authorities, or you'll get people who move more into sort of project management / corporate leadership and that sort of thing. It's entirely your choice, and your continuous professional development is really primarily your responsibility. It's important to remember that all through your career. You'll work in great companies that provide you with support, but in a way, at one point in my career, I kind of learned that the things that were actually helped me move forward wasn't what happened between 9 and 5, but actually what happened afterwards. What was I doing outside of work to develop myself and to put myself in a position so that I could add greater value within the 9 to 5. So just if there's nothing else you remember, make sure you don't be like Ollie. Make sure your mentor is not your boss. You have a separate mentor, especially when it comes to chartership, and also think about your career and learn that yes, you'll have the great companies represented here and they provide support, but the ultimate responsibility for how far you go or where you go with your career is your responsibility. So it's everything that you do outside of it that really makes you tick and makes you different. So just things to remember.
Really, really valuable. And thank you so much for your honesty, because there is this stigma about, when you get things wrong, you need to bury it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
It's fine to admit your mistakes, because this is how we learn. This is how we learn, and passing that on to others is admirable. So thank you so much.
Right.
Okay, so I'm going to go to my student ambassadors to ask if they have any questions, first of all, on what they've just heard. So, Michelle, Mohammed, Abirami. Michelle, yes, what's your question? And if I could ask all of our lovely panel, keep your answers as succinct as possible, because somehow questions have infiltrated the system. I love this. I've got questions coming in on my chat and I've got to get them through to you. I don't want people coming to my house. So let's hear from you first. Thank you, Michelle.
All right. This might be fairly obvious, but I feel like it does vary from company to company. How important is industry experience, like specific industry experience, to like what the person is applying for, to the role? Be it like graduate roles. I'm talking graduate roles here. Maybe summer placements and stuff like that. If someone was not able to get summer placements, but they got experience in something maybe completely different, how does that play out in applications?
Okay, then. So a few of you, if you have anything to add. Who's okay? My eyes are bobbing around. Yes, unmute if you have something to say. So I'm going to go Gowrie first, please.
Well, I was in this exact same position not long ago. I personally didn't have any scientific or industry experience before I applied for my role. And I did do like summer jobs in between university. But I think it doesn't. I think as long for my company, it seems like as long as you're passionate and you care about the purpose and the mission of the company, and you have demonstrated that you're interested by going into like looking into things that you can, like maybe going for talks at your university or like other places. Especially now that they're all online, I think it's a lot easier to access them, and you can demonstrate that you're interested that way quite easily. I think, I think it's more about the passion. I think if you have industry experience, that's also very helpful. Definitely, it's a good thing. I just didn't manage to get any, but it hasn't held me back, thankfully. So I don't think it's your biggest concern. I think everyone knows how hard positions like those are hard to get, and especially now, a lot of them might have been cancelled and things like that as well. So I think as long as you show you're passionate and you're interested in the company, that you've done your research before you go in, I think that's what they look for, and they look for potential and not necessarily like you have all your experience behind you and know what you're doing.
Thank you, Gary. And Ollie, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, that's right. Couldn't agree more with everything that Gary just said. I sort of used the Karate Kid sort of approach in the sense that he was being asked to do things, but those things were actually quite useful for his job. I found exactly the same. The important thing, especially at the graduate stage, what the employer wants to know is what your competencies are and your ability to work with a team, your ability to learn, willingness to learn, your ability to your aptitude and those sorts of things. So it's not important for you to have industry specific. Obviously, it's a plus if you do, but it's not absolutely important. I attended one interview where I can't remember saying that many no's before. Have you done this? No. Have you done that? No. Have you done this? No. But what I'd said is what I have done is this, that, and the other. And when I eventually got employed, my employer said to me that my lead lady said to me that there were more people more experienced than you, but we hired you because you demonstrated the willingness to learn. So that's what's important, not how much industry specific information you have.
Brilliant. And just going to the chat, a question came through. So I'm going to ask all our panelists, because that's where the question has been directed. So again, nice and succinct, if you please, with your answers. Where's he gone? Oh, there we go. Half Save Singh is asking, do you offer any summer placements? So obviously in the situations we're in at the moment, I'll go to Stella first.
Thanks, Fayon. So yes, we are advertising for summer internships. So they're 10-week placements. The application window is now open. And if you want to know any more about it, come and speak to our graduates in the afternoon session.
Brilliant. Zachariah, did you need to say anything on top of that for Rolls-Royce?
No, I just echo that really. Yeah, there are different types of placements available: summer, year-long internships, the graduate programs, but and even work experience for people who may be beyond that, before that stage, before say university. So yeah, definitely.
Thank you, Hayley. Oh, sorry to cut you. Sorry. Thank you, Hayley.
Yeah, so we do offer internships during the summer. So it's a 2-month placement, which is run through the Cyber First scheme, and it focuses on software and cyber security. So I can have a chat a little bit more about that at the Q&A session later.
Brilliant, thank you. Benedict.
So we have an internship program which is running around Easter time. So the information about that will be available in the virtual booth session. But I think to go back to Michelle's questions as well, I think that we recognize that, when you have a CV, not everyone will have the same access to the same opportunities. And we are very conscious of that. And I think I would echo what Gary and Ollie were saying is not everyone will have, be able to access a summer placement or that type of opportunities. It's not going to be something we're not going to disregard the CV because it's not there. Certainly not. Especially what we're looking for in people is, I agree with Ollie, willingness to learn is definitely key to, I think, any role, anywhere. But also we're trying to find people, we're hiring people based on how they think. We want people to be able to understand technology and analyze it and put it in context. And you can't necessarily learn that, so you can't just, the fact you haven't had a summer placement or not, it's not going to affect your ability to do that. And we're very conscious of that. So I wouldn't worry about it too much.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. Zoe, did you want to back up anything on there? Are you okay?
Just to add, really, I think the breadth of technologies that we deal with in private practice is so enormous that you wouldn't possibly expect individuals to have experience. You know, I mean, I did a very specialised PhD in chemistry, and I can honestly say in 20 years I've probably never had to deal with any specific technology that related to that. So it's just having the right sort of brain that allows you to pick up quickly on other technical disciplines and retain that information and understand it that's important, rather than having specific experience.
Thank you. Thank you. And Gary, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, we definitely have summer placements and we have internships. We also do years in industry, and also if you're doing like a master's, you could potentially do your master's at our company. Yeah, we'll talk more about it at the booth.
Excellent. Thank you. And Ollie, thank you for using the chat function. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you said we have quite a few companies approaching AFBE UK with summer placements too. So send us an email at info@afbe.org.uk.
Yeah, I didn't want to take too much time, so I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah, cracking. You're all good. Thank you very much. So, gosh, sorry. Sounds like they're coming for me. Sorry. I don't know if you can hear that. They're getting closer. So, yes, I must remind you all that you have the opportunity to ask more direct questions to our panel afterwards at 12:05. So you can join the employability booth and ask questions away. I see a lot of questions are coming through the chat, so bear with me on this, bear with me, and I'll see what I can do. But for now, I just wanted to double check that Mohammed or Abarami didn't have anything that they wanted to ask our panel on the last question, or are you good? And I'll move on to the next one. Oh, looks like they're good. Okay, thank you. Right then, so actually, I'm going to ask this question because I feel if I don't, I'm gonna hear from this young person again. So it's a specific question, but I think there might be a lot of people out there that might want to hear the answer. So Ibrahim Agiwa, hello, what companies do you represent here that sponsor international student visas to work after graduation, whether through graduate schemes or direct entry for data analyst? Where do you apply? So the question has actually gone out to all the panelists, so it's a very personal one. So I feel almost that I would invite you to come to the virtual booth afterwards to get that sort of absolute answer, especially for you. Or if any of our panelists want to send a direct answer through the chat, then you could do that. But we'll see if we can get some of these questions asked in a little while if we have time. So I want to now ask our panel, and this is, you know, in the times we're in right now, a lot of people are feeling that our circumstances are denying us from looking forward into the future. You know, no matter what race, ethnicity you are, we're all in what I like to call people soup. We're all in it together right now, and it just seems that everything's on hold. But I disagree. I say you must still plan your future because your dreams cannot be put on hold. And the question that I wanted to ask you is, in which areas are the jobs coming up? I want to know what's hot. What is hot? And I know things change from time to time, but as we are sat here, 3rd of November 2020, Stella, Rolls-Royce, what's hot?
What's hot? Well, we've got lots of things that are what's hot at the moment. So we've got lots of new developments which we can't talk about. They're top secret. But some of the things we can talk about is that we're looking at the digitalisation, electrification and sustainability. And some of the things that we've got, so we're attempting the world record for the electric aircraft, hopefully later this year or early next year. and that's the eFanX. And if you are interested in sustainability, I would suggest to have a look at that project online. It's all about the eFanX, and it's all about the hybrid electric solution, and that's being developed in partnership with Airbus. We've also got wearable cockpit of the future. Could you imagine it? So you have the aircraft controls projected, and that's like a via virtual and augmented reality. So yeah, so Rolls-Royce have been hit by COVID, and I think that's all been over the news, but we have still, you can still have an exciting career with us. So this year we have got some internship opportunities, year-long internship, and graduate program as well. And one of the good things is if you get onto a summer internship or an internship program and you do really well at it and you decide actually, yes, I'd love to work at Rolls-Royce, you can then be put forward for the graduate program. You don't need to go through that whole assessment centre again. So it's a great stepping stone to be able to get onto the graduate program and to find out really what you're interested in. So yes, there's lots of exciting things happening at Rolls-Royce, and please come and see us in the afternoon session and we can go through all that information.
Thank you so much, because the questions are coming through thick and fast on the chat, but they're so very personal to the people that are asking. They're not general. So I really do want to ask you straight after this session. You know, you're going to get the opportunity directly to speak to our panel about your personal situation. So do join us for that. So Zachariah, thank you. What do you know about what's hot down in Rolls-Royce?
There's lots of exciting work, lots of exciting projects that Stella mentioned, many that we talk about, some that we might not. But generally moving forward, there's a movement towards, because we've dealt historically in Rolls-Royce with a lot of very sort of mechanical systems with turbo machinery, but we're moving towards sort of the more fusion of this technology with electrical technologies, things like the eFanX, the Axel program, and many others which you can read about. So there's a lot of also in other areas integrating not just the physical technology that say we've been developing in Rolls-Royce, but more digital technologies too. These areas are always really, or especially as in the recent past, have been gaining traction and have been much more exciting and interesting. And I'd say I define that as pretty hot right now. But definitely, I think another thing is internships and graduate schemes are really good ways to find out. I did a year in industry, then came back for another internship before doing the graduate scheme, which I came off very recently. And I would, if you have the opportunity to, I would say definitely go for it. It's a really good way to learn about the industry, to learn about different areas of a business. Maybe you're working in manufacturing in one time and then you go into engineering, but the graduate scheme is really flexible, and I'm sure many of the other representatives from Rolls-Royce soon will be in the afternoon session. We're really happy to talk about this. But yeah, definitely. So electrification and sort of digitalization, they're kind of very bland seeming words, but they're hot areas right now.
Love it. Thank you so much. Thank you. And Hayley, can you tell us anything at all?
Yes, so I mentioned earlier about the ever-evolving digital age, and that's really where we're kind of focused on. So we're trying to keep up with those changes. So our sort of hot roles at the moment will be software and cybersecurity focused. They'll be going on our website in the next couple of months, but they're not there at the moment. So what people can do is set up a job alert to notify them of that, which is on our website. So that's hmgcc.gov.uk. And as I say, you can sign up there to get notifications through as and when our roles do go live. I would just say, do come and speak to us at the booth session at 12 o'clock. If you've got any specific questions, we'd be happy to take those. And our website also has lots of information about our inclusion and diversity. So that would be a great place to have a look and find out a little bit more about us.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you so much, Hayley. And Benedict?
Thanks. So first thing first is, things haven't stopped for us. We're still doing well. We've had just a group of new trainees starting recently, so it's not all doom and gloom. First point I wanted to get across. When it comes to technical areas, so we're probably in a slightly different situation because of what Zoe was alluding to. We have such a breadth of technologies that everything's hard for us. Basically, we're interested in different areas, and when you're training as well, you are exposed to different types of inventions so that you understand how things work. And myself, as I've worked in my technical area, I've also on mechanical inventions, things like gearboxes, engines, aircraft wings technology, canisters for asthma medication, oil filters, bouncy castle once. And I've even done a couple of biotech cases, which is not my background at all. So we are interested in anyone who can understand science and understand technologies when it's been explained to them. But then, as a firm and as industry, obviously we're following what our clients are doing. And I was thinking of where we see the sort of main point of growth. And I think one of the key one is IoT, so Internet of Things. So this is basically about machine communicating with each other or with people. And that's going to affect so many different industries. It's going to affect medical industries, biotech, automotive, manufacturing, safety. I mean, it's basically a case of you name it, and it's going to be affected by it. So this is one of the big changes. AI, obviously, I'm sure everyone have heard too much about AI, so I'm not going to say too much about it, but AI is obviously opening new doors. And then things like medical devices, for example, are a big growth area, and they're quite complex. They're getting more complex. I think it sort of echoes what Zachariah was saying, is that you get more crossovers between different technologies, and it's less just a mechanical thing. And so you can have inventions about compounds, about the actual mechanical aspects, about the control systems, the sensors. And so it's a cross of different technologies. Green technologies as well are quite big at the moment. So anything to do with energy, electric vehicles, all of that is quite hot. And I think, if I can say also, despite COVID, quite a lot of industries are doing well, especially the tech industry and the medical industries. So for example, we have people like Amazon, Arm, and Netflix as clients, and at the moment they're doing quite well with COVID. So it's not all bad. There is also some good out there.
Excellent. Yeah. The world still turns. There's so much to do still, isn't there?
Yeah.
And Gary, please.
Yeah. I agree with Benedict. Yeah, the world still turns. There's still lots going on. Our company, UKAA, is expanding at a fast rate. And throughout the pandemic, we've been recruiting so many new staff. So it's definitely still going. And we've just had like 14 new graduates start in September. So it's definitely still happening. We have a variety of roles available, like anything you can think of probably. Like we have physicists looking at plasma diagnostics, to software engineers building virtual reality simulators, also like HR and things like that. So if you want to have a look at what's available, then you can, if you just Google UKAA jobs, you'll be able to find a list of different things. I'm not sure if the graduate scheme thing is open yet. I think it will be in the next couple of months. But you can get an idea of what kind of roles are out there by just seeing the general vacancies anyway.
It's like anything, isn't it? You've got to keep your eyes open.
Exactly.
And yeah, just, oh, it wasn't open last week, I won't go back for another 3 months. No, you've got to keep
No, don't do
going.
that.
Keep checking, because things can change. And Ollie, what's hot?
When you mentioned hot there, I was thinking of our Make Engineering Hot program, which we initially thought about calling Making Engineering Sexy, but we thought maybe that won't go well in so well in schools. But anyway, 2 areas that I think everyone ought to think about, and one of them has already been talked about. It's that whole world of digitization and automation and so on, but the other area that is definitely hot at the moment is to do with the energy transition. So transition to a low carbon economy. And I would suggest that, for that, most people would be tempted to look away from the big energy giants, but actually a lot of the work that's going on with the energy transition is in those companies. It's in the BPs of this world, in the Equinors of this world, in the Shells of this world. So I would say that actually the one area that certainly all companies, and I believe BP have recently announced a net zero target for their organization. So that's a complete transformation in the way that the company operates. So I would say definitely look at the energy sector, look at all of the organizations that are also specifically looking at how to make these things happen. So I'm thinking of organizations like the Oil and Gas Technology Center, the Oil and Gas Authority. These are all organizations that are financed by the government to actually start to look at this, and they are actually hiring graduates. They're doing remote internships, and so start to look at these, key into your own institutions, whether it's IChemE or IMechE or because you get a broad range of companies hiring. But yeah, those two areas, general sort of digitization and the energy transition.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you very much, Ollie. So I'll throw it out to our student ambassadors. Do you have any questions to ask on this question of what is out there, what's hot? I'm looking at Michelle, I'm looking at Abriami at the moment. So what I will say is thank you very much. Just to say from Amrit Pool, I love passing on compliments. I like giving them, I like receiving them. And Amrit says, thank you all for your answers so far. I'm loving the panel. So Amrit does have a very personal question to, which is, to them, to themselves. So I would only encourage you all, to get to the virtual booths, which will be running from 12 o'clock. All you have to do is click on the link, equalengineers.com, race hash, ethnicity hash, and afternoon hash session /. So just have a look on our website for that one. But I'm just going to go through these questions that have snuck through just to see if I can share something that is a little bit more general. Um, Okay, yeah, they're all very personal. So this is why you've got to go. You've got to go, guys, to the chat that's going to be happening because these are so, so specific. What I can share with you all is very exciting news, literally hot off the press. So, um, the Engineering Talent Awards are now live. Yes, indeed. This is very exciting news. The awards aim to raise the profile of the engineering and technology professions across the UK. And they highlight the diversity in engineering on a national platform. So, through showcasing role models and inspiring people to consider a career in engineering and technology, we celebrate the diversity of organisations and engineers. So, please visit the Engineering Talent Award website to submit your nominations. I was involved in it this year, and we got pipped to the post by the COVID pandemic, so we weren't able to actually hold these the actual awards live, but that did not stop us at Equal Engineers. If you go onto our website, you will see the mountain of wonderful interviews that myself and another presenter, David, we did together. We just interviewed everybody separately and we got so much out of them. I mean, we squeezed so much out of these engineers. It's a really great place for you to find out about the roles that they do and the companies that they work for. So do shoot across to Equal Engineers and have a look at Equal Engineers the Talent Awards 2020. But for 2021, we are now open for business. So I have something that's popped through. Okay. I might squeeze this one through. It looks like we're going to be going for an early finish, which is great for our panelists because we were hot on the wire yesterday. We literally finished at 12 and bam, you had to go straight over to the discussion. So we are going to be opening the booth at 12 o'clock. So I'm going to just throw this question out to you all and see what you say. Anybody can answer this one. So, Esri, this is, let's have a look. Da, 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 da. Somebody's answered it already. Fantastic. You guys are good. Is that Zachariah answering question? Fantastic, fantastic, good. So it looks like, I'm just going to double check that there wasn't something more sort of open. I kind of like this question, so maybe see if the panel can answer. This person, Amrit, says he studies mechatronic engineering, meaning that I'll apply for a mechanical role or an electronical role. I have less knowledge than someone who does a pure mechanical or electrical degree. How would I still be considered for these roles? How do you think I can make myself stand out? So I guess from that, I will just pluck. Don't answer the question directly, but I think what's important is to ask in this day and age where everybody's doing everything online now, how can people actually pop literally out of the computer into your office and go, me, look at me. So how can they stand out? Stella, go.
Right, thank you, Fayon. Well, the way you can stand out is research the company, because we want to make sure that your application stands out by researching the company. You know what they're wanting, you know about the latest projects, and you can talk about it. Because the worst thing you can do, we've had it and we still have it now, is that they put on Rolls-Royce about I want to make cars. Well, guess where that application goes, Fayon? Straight in the bin. Yeah, because it shows they haven't done any research about all the latest projects we're doing. So it's about research the company, it's about that motivation, and it's about that passion. And if you've got that and you can bring that over in your application and in your assessment centre, you'll do really well. So those are the 3 top tips that I would say.
Fantastic, thank you. Any other top tips coming from our panel? Yes, please, Benedict.
Yeah, so I completely agree. Do your research. I think that's one of the key things. But I think also how you handle getting things wrong is quite important. So as part of our interviews, we will ask questions where we actually don't expect the candidates to know the answer, because we want to see how they think it through, how they reach the answer. And so you can tell a lot about the candidate's ability to learn and to understand from their mistake, from how they handle getting it wrong. So I would just say, be humble and just, it's okay to get it wrong, and just be conscious of how you handle that sort of situation.
Mm-hmm. Right, Ollie's like, yeah, I'm having some of that. Right, what have you got, Ollie?
Yeah, I mean, just building really on what Stella and Benedict already said, which is prepare, what we call sort of prepare, practice, deliver. So do your research, spend time to know, before you send out an application, actually get somebody to look at it for you and, review it for you. When you write your CV, ask a friend of yours to describe you, so that what you put down on your CV is actually you. Don't say you're a, rabble rouser. I don't think anyone puts that down on the CV. But anyway, don't suggest you're something that you're not, because that's important. Practice is very important, and this is where not just talking to yourself, if you like, and trying to articulate some very standard answers that you're going to be asked is important, but also using the events. There are many careers events that take place. I mentioned transition earlier. There are events like this. put yourself in the position to have to do this in a sort of pretend scenario enough times so that it becomes second nature when you're actually in front of somebody. And then finally, just the specific thing you mentioned, Faye, on there was about how you make yourself heard in this internet age. So make use of social media. Be careful what you've got on social media, because it's so easy to find out about people these days. And if all they can see is somebody falling in and out of clubs every other time, or you know, maybe saying things that are completely inappropriate, or you know, even your email, you know, ensuring that you've got a representative email, you know, sexy123 is probably not a good idea for an email on your CV. Or you know, just think about all of those things, because these days people can find out so many things about you, and it's important that you're therefore present yourself in the best way.
And if I can just jump in on the presentation, because I am a presenter, I'm a facilitator, I work in schools with young people, but I also used to work in recruitment. And, you know, presentation, how you present yourself is so, so important. You know, even though we're doing this all via technology, you know, we're not sometimes face to face, you need to practice. You really need to practice how you present yourself, how you meet people, so that when you do get the chance to literally say, hello, it's great to meet you, be ready. You know, it's just, we're not going to be on screen like this forever. You are going to be meeting people face to face. So practice those skills of eye contact, body language, you know, having a pen and paper, a pen and pad next to you, so that when you're speaking to the employer, you're writing down questions that you might have. Because otherwise, what happens, you're so overwhelmed by the whole thing. At the end, they say, got any questions? You're like, no, because there's just too much going on. So make sure you write those down. If you're attending an interview, there's something about you that's got you through so many other people. And I believe you're already 80% of the way there. They just want to meet you. They want to see the human side of you, you know? I once turned up for an interview with bird mess on my shoulder. On my way to an interview, a bird kindly messed upon my shoulder. You cannot do anything with that. I couldn't go home. It was like minutes before the interview. I couldn't go and buy a new jacket. In I went. I got a funny story, you know, and that broke the ice. So all of these things, you know, breaking the ice, being human, being you, that's what they want to see. So please do practice being you. It's the most important thing you can be. Yes, Benedict.
And a small point I think you made me think of that is, if you at the CV stage already, if you have something that sort of is memorable, I think the bird mess made me think of that, is you want people to remember, oh, it's the person with that on their CV, it's the person who did this or that. And
Yeah.
whatever it is, even if whether it's a funny story, whether it's a sport, whether it's an activity, whether it's a travel, you know, if you have something that stands out, they will remember you as the person with that on their CV, and you will stay in their mind, and that will help you, you know, get further in the process.
Absolutely right. And even when things go wrong, I mean, I remember in a presentation I had to go, I was up for a presenting job. There's 14 other presenters there. We all had to deliver. And the zip on my dress was all the way down my back. Nobody said anything. Nobody mentioned it. But I gave my best presentation and I still got the job. So, you know, even when things go wrong, you know, it's life. So you smile, laugh, get over it. I think it's what is worse is just like, oh, you can't see me. Oh, they can see you. So, you know, it's good to laugh at yourself. So before we finish, are there any questions from our student ambassadors before we completely wrap up what I think has been another fantastic event from Equal Engineers? So Abarami, Mohammed, Michelle, the last words are yours. Do you have anything to add? Yes, please, Michelle.
It was going to be kind of a question, kind of adding on to making an impression. I think now that we're kind of moved on to like more of an online platform, how big is like LinkedIn? Because I know cover letter, CV, that's the standard. How big is LinkedIn? Because I think it varies from company to company as well, but you find that maybe they want some engagement, like posting about what you've done, your accomplishments, or do you need to have LinkedIn? Is it important? Is that something that you'd find, oh, here's a LinkedIn, it's set up, oh, that's impressive, or is it not important? Oh.
Yes, please, Ollie.
Yeah, just exactly what I was sort of alluding to there before when I was talking about social media. Yeah, I think your LinkedIn profile these days, people want to know who they're hiring, and sometimes they will look at your profile. So it's important that if there are things there, a bit like what Benedict was saying earlier, if there are interesting things that you're involved in, that you've done, that you can put on your profile, very often they will check it. I've actually got a link to my hyperlink to my LinkedIn profile now on my CV. So that again, it's a very, very effective way of people finding out a bit more about you and a bit more about what you've done.
Thank you. Abriani, you had your, I saw that you
Yes.
turned off your mute.
I know we talked a lot about the application process, but what do you guys all work for like billion-dollar companies? What resources and systems do you have in place for your current employees to promote equality and diversity?
Great question. All right, so we'll start at the top. We'll start with Stella, and then if anybody else wants to add.
Right, so yes, I mean, we've, as Zach spoke about earlier, we have got employee resource groups. So that's where you'd have the support within the company, and that can be, so we've got the Afro-Caribbean group, we've got PRISM, which is for our LGBTQ community, we've got Open, which is our disability forum. So we've got many, many different support groups, Working Parents Network, Women's Gender Diversity Network. So there's many different support networks there to support you, and also then to have your conversations with your manager, with your mentor, and things can be put into place. So like yesterday we talked about flexible working. That is something that we can look at if that's something that you need as part of your working life.
Did anybody else have anything to add?
Yeah, I'd like to add something from HMGCC.
Yep.
If that's okay. So we've got lots of affinity groups that we liaise with throughout the recruitment process, but also they're open to all members of staff as well. So very similar to Rolls-Royce, we've got an LGBTQ+ group. We've got a BAME network, gender equality, disability support network, and we also hold disability confident employer status. So we've got lots out there, and we also have internal forums, so we can have open discussions throughout the business and from different groups and get lots of different viewpoints. So we're really keen to reach out to people and get involved with those as well.
Excellent, thank you, Hayley. Just unmute if you had something to add. So Zachariah, you've unmuted. Zoe, I'll come to you straight after.
Yeah, I thought I'd just follow on from Stella and the previous answer earlier this morning. Yeah, we do have a lot of these different groups, and they're not necessarily there so that if you are, say, of African and Caribbean heritage or origin, then you will join that group. No, it's open to everyone, so that we make a sense of almost sort of allyship, because many of these problems that may be faced in the workplace will inevitably affect a larger network of people, whether it's the gender pay gap, whether it's underrepresentation in the industry, or unconscious bias, or any of these other issues. So really, yeah, these groups are there, and they're there really with clear and open intentions. And it's open for anyone to get involved in, no matter how junior or senior you may be, no matter what walk of life you're from. So they're really, and it's something that looked well at to don't have like negative stigmas with it. And it's an opportunity, especially if you're earlier in your career, to get exposure to maybe more senior people in the business too. So there's the benefits are multiple. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Zachariah. Thank you very much. And Zoe, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, just to add really that, we're not a multi-billion pound huge international company. We're we have 3 offices. We're a relatively small company, so we're not going to change the world in 15 minutes, but it's really just taking those small steps in the right direction, both internally in terms of what we're focusing on, not just the BAME network, but also we're looking at gender, we're looking at flexible working policies and how we can support our staff through the COVID pandemic in the switch to suddenly, working almost exclusively remotely. But it's working in conjunction with other organisations across the IP sector. For example, IP Inclusive, which I mentioned earlier, has a BAME network. It also has a Women in IP subgroup. It has an LGBTQ subgroup. It has an IP Ability subgroup. So it's really working in conjunction. We may not have a huge amount of resource available within our small organisation, but hopefully working together with other organisations across the profession, we can really start to get some traction and implement those change that is necessary to make it a more diverse profession.
Brilliant stuff. That is great. And Ollie, please.
Yeah, just to build on again, we were talking. Your question sounds to me like you were thinking mainly about career progression for people from BME backgrounds, and certainly one thing that's starting to happen in companies, in addition to putting together these employee resource groups, I think especially after the events in May. After the murder of George Floyd, quite a lot of companies have been doing a lot of soul searching. And one of the things that they have actually been highlighting is just how there is clearly a lack of progression for a lot of people from BME backgrounds in the companies. And this is true, it doesn't matter what the companies say. So companies are now starting to look at 3 specific areas. They're looking at recruitment, and many companies, again, I've got this right, but there are a lot of companies that still have a long way to go when it comes to ensuring that they're reaching out to the kinds of universities that are likely to have high proportions of BME people, so that they're opening it to everyone. They're looking at things like career progression, because I listened to somebody who'd been working in a big multinational for many years, and what she said is that regardless of all of the sort of black squares being posted, she says, I've been in the same position for 7 years and I haven't moved on. But the companies are now starting to show a very specific, recognizing that this is something that's been neglected. They are starting to think about exactly how they can provide support so that people can actually make a progression. And then the third area that is being looked at, and the government is likely to come into force legally anyway, is the ethnicity pay gap, which again, we'll be looking at just like the gender pay gap, why do people get paid differently for doing the same job with the same qualification, same ability. And so these things are ongoing. And what I wanted to do there is just show you that, yes, there are challenges, but the industry is gradually coming to the place of dealing with it. And actually, these employee resource groups help in that way. They can be the conscience of the company to ensure that that continues to happen.
Fantastic stuff. Thank you so much. Great question to finish on. Thank you, Abarami. That's brilliant. So this is the end of our session here today. It is brilliant to hear so much from all of our panel. Virtual race and ethnicity is always going to be a thing. Or other race and ethnicity is always going to be a thing, and so it's going to be an ongoing conversation. And so we want you to bring your thoughts and your questions at 12 o'clock to the virtual booth that we are going to have open for you, and it will be these wonderful people, or there may even be somebody else from their organization, but they will be represented. So all your fantastic questions that I've seen come through this chat facility, bring them to the virtual booth and get directly the answer that you want to hear. So details for that are on our website. The links are out there as well. So any questions before I sign off about how to get hold of the link, then send it to our marketing team. They are there to answer your questions. Before I say thank you to our wonderful panel, I just want to remind you again that hot off the press, the Engineering Talent Awards are now live. And as I said, the aim is to raise the profile of the engineering and technology professions across the UK and highlight diversity in engineering on a national platform. So that is very exciting. We look forward to your nominations. But I'd just like to say a big thank you to all our panel today. If you could give me a goodbye wave. Don't sign off just yet, though. So thank you so much to Stella from Rolls-Royce. Thank you. Thank you to Zachariah, also from Rolls-Royce. Thank you to Hayley. I know you're waving. Thank you, Benedict, from D Young and Co. And Zoe, also from D Young and Co. Thank you. Thank you, Gowrie. Great to see you here. UK A&E. AEA even. Ollie, thank you so much for coming in the chat. Thank you. And to our student ambassadors, thank you so much, Abarami, Mohammed and Michelle. It was great to have you here. So we've done it again. Equal engineers, asking all of the questions and just giving you a taste of the answers that you can have to progress your career into the future and beyond. So do join in from 12 o'clock at the virtual booth. And for now, stay safe, look after yourselves and keep those futures alive. Take care, everyone.